Alright, hello and welcome. We are on the roll, presented to you by Angle 3 Pictures. My name is Joey. Today we are joined with
Leah,
Benjamin,
Jenny.
And today's topic is producers. What do they do? So, Leah is our resident producer here. Leah at Angle 3 Pictures. At Angle 3 Pictures. So, Leah, well, let's start off with a simple one. What does a producer do in films?
in film specifically?
In films,
Okay.
like not in your free time or just,
Oh,
maybe in your free
time.
time as well, but
Okay.
yeah.
Free time? What's that? Does that exist?
Yeah, long walks on the beach and
Well, what does the producer do? A producer is basically the person who is kind of in charge of a film overall, and so they're the ones who will find funding for a story. They might be the ones to find the director if there's not a director attached. So they kind of find the creative team and also kind of the heads of department to make it happen. And they protect the integrity of the story, so they will make sure that if the director really wants a beautiful shot but it doesn't really fit with the story, that they'll actually they can actually talk with them about making it fit. So that's kind of the gist of it, is just to kind of keep the integrity of the story and also the integrity of the team and keeping all those relationships working, because obviously communication breaks down. There's so many moving parts, and it's kind of their job to make sure the parts keep moving and communicating with each other.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but that's on massive productions and stuff.
Oh.
So what about indie films and short films, like the ones that we make? Sometimes I feel like it's more the other way around, where it's the writer and
like a writer,
the director who find a producer to help them make their short. Does that producer work differently? What does that producer do?
I think that producer still does the same thing, but they are, I think on an independent film you can afford to be a bit more collaborative, I think, and less kind of, obviously, if it's for instance, a self-funded film, then the director might become the executive or the person who has funded, obviously the investor. So that relationship is kind of different, but if it's a really good kind of relationship, there'll be lots of respect and you'll talk through things together. And you can be that objective voice to them, and also kind of helping them organize themselves, because sometimes they can't do that themselves, because there's just so many things to do and think about. So on a short film or a music video, I kind of find myself kind of being that voice of reason, and when there's just all this chaos around, and also just keeping the team going as well. It goes back to that kind of fostering relationships and making sure people are happy across the board and communicated to across the board.
Because I find, in my experience, I feel like students, particularly student short films, but recent grads, they tend to think that the director is more important than the producer.
They would,
do you feel like that's an issue?
That is something that's quite common in the independent film industry in general, not just in film school. And I think that's a really wrong way of looking at it. And if a director does think they're the most important, then that's a bit of a skewed relationship, because it's a collaborative thing. The director's never the most important. Everybody's important. And so I think...
Especially if you're snacks person.
Yeah, exactly. If you're the snacks person, you're the most important person. I think that is a problem, and it's something that really frustrates me as well, because then that relationship is a bit weird, and then it's kind of...
Also, that takes away from the kind of job that the director actually needs to be doing.
Yeah, and also, I find a lot of particularly new grads will treat their producers like their assistants.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that person is not your assistant. They're actually your co-creator.
Yeah.
That's the way to look at it, is to look at them as a co-creator. And if you don't have enough respect for them or enough in common with them that they can be a good co-creator, then you shouldn't be having that person as your producer. You should just find a PA.
Yeah.
That's really
true.
what you need.
So, Yeah, so what are kind of main problems that you kind of that arise when you're producing a film? Like some things that would maybe the things that often go wrong, like, and the producer has to kind of jump into as a with your experience as a producer. What have you found that's most
It's
common?
always different. It's always different, but something that's quite common is crew changes. Particularly if you're working low budget. I'm just talking specifically low budget, but I mean even in high budget films you'll lose crew.
Yeah.
Because it's especially if it's a really long-winded project. So I think making sure that the crew are happy and also that they are that if they do have to leave, that you find new people, and sometimes that needs to happen like in an hour or 2 hours. You need to find someone new, and that's where it gets a bit stressful. Or another thing is just locations is quite a big deal as well in low budget filmmaking. It's just finding the right location and then just making sure that the locations are working for what you need them for. So, for example, we wanted to shoot at some caves in Fatibu, and I decided that was going to be a production nightmare, getting people from one place to another because it was really dangerous and muddy and awful. So you also have to kind of look after people's safety. And also lugging gear. So it's kind of like thinking in those terms.
So like your voice of reason kind of...
Yeah, it's the voice of reason again, and just practicality. It's like, how long is it going to take to get everybody there? Is it really worth it when you can go... Well, we decided to go to the Waipu Caves, which was so much easier. I mean, it was still slippery and a bit dangerous, but it was easier and it was quicker to get around. So you got to think about that as well. It's something that maybe the director wouldn't think about because they're like, I want the caves.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, but this is the reality.
And toilets as well.
Yeah, toilets. Toilets
are
is
also
always
a big
there.
deal. I need to go, but it's going to take me 45 minutes to go to the bathroom. Yeah, pretty much.
By that time, you don't really need to go, do you?
Just find some bushes.
Yeah. I find a deeper hole in the cave.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's been, in your experience, if you feel comfortable talking about it, what's been the worst producing nightmare you've ever had?
I've had a few.
Surely there's one that's worse than all the others.
She's having PTSD now, just like flashbacks
I'm like,
of
oh
now.
no, flashbacks. Oh, I'm gonna faint. No, just
horror.
kidding. It's not that bad. The worst one. Okay, I'm gonna try and not use any names because otherwise people are gonna listen.
Just change the names and titles to fruits. Or
yeah,
something.
I just. Well, I was working on this funded film, and
Called Watermelon.
I was gonna say watermelon.
Watermelon. So on Watermelon,
Yeah.
the director of photography kept telling me how to do my job, and it was really stressful. And he kept aiming for, like, we had this much budget, and he wanted a 10 grand film to be an 100 grand film to look like one. And so it was kind of like, I want this and this and this. And I'm like, well, you can only have this and this. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? There's funding. Like, he just has no concept. And then he kept telling me to, like, how to run the crew, like, and how much to pay them and all sorts of things. And I was just like, just let me deal with that. No, but you have to pay them this much money. And I'm like, how much money do you think we have? You know? And it was just really frustrating. And then also the director wasn't that much better on Watermelon.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of just working around those things where you've got... when you've got somebody who has this amazing vision of making this film, but it's going to put actors in danger, it's going to put crew in danger because you haven't put all of those things in place, because they only tell you on set that they want them to, like, climb a high tower
Okay.
or something.
So there's no
along those
communications.
lines. There's just no communication, and there was one particular day where it kept raining, and we were outside the whole day, and the actor nearly got hypothermia, and it was just really, really bad, and it was just from a lack of communication and from, general. Yeah, it was hard, but we got through it. So that was a pretty awful time.
Watermelon coming to a cinema near you.
Yeah, watermelon.
Keep an eye on Watermelon. Comes out 2018.
Yeah, but the crew of Watermelon will probably figure out that I'm talking about them. But that's okay. I still love you guys.
Yeah.
It's just a hard time.
A bunch of fruits. Right?
Yeah, and then there was also an like a music video that I was doing, and the camera broke half an hour before we were gonna finish.
Oh, really?
Should we call this one Banana?
This one's Banana.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
well,
the camera
Banana,
broke.
Banana knows about it. Banana, the crew, they know all about it.
How'd you get around that? Like when equipment do fail.
Did you just
Does-
use masking tape?
Yeah. Like.
Well, the amazing thing was, actually, I called the person who'd given us the camera, because it had been giving us a pain all day, and the whole time he wouldn't give us enough SD cards, and he wouldn't give us the camera charger because he thought that we would have enough battery, and so we had to keep going back to the rental house, and it was such an awful time. And then I called him and I said, your camera's not working. He said, oh, you broke it. And I said, no, your camera's been crappy all day, but now it's actually died. Can you come and fix it? No, it's my day off, I can't do it. And it was just really awful. But then surprisingly, I think maybe it overheated or something, but it came back to life and we were able to finish the music video. But basically it was a long weekend, so we couldn't get any other cameras. So
Yeah.
pretty much they had to work, or we wouldn't have a music video because there was no budget to bring everybody back. So it was pretty intense. I actually went into the bathroom and cried because I was under so much pressure. But yeah, it was okay. I survived.
And that's Banana coming to TV.
Banana is actually on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Check out Banana on
Banana's
YouTube.
amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Leah, do you remember the Satan parade?
Oh yes, I remember the Satan
Satan
Parade.
Parade.
One of my many fond memories. Making a web series. This is Project J. You can watch this web series.
Oh, we're not going to give it a
No, we're not going to give it a fruit name.
Yeah.
Oh.
Check
But yeah,
out.
because I think a lot of people know the story, but in the one location where we wanted to shoot, and this was a guerrilla shoot, so we didn't really look into it too much, but we went there, and there just happened to be a Santa parade on that day, exactly where we wanted to shoot. So I was pretty much pulling my hair out. And it took me like half an hour to get out of there once I was in there. And then we had to go and find a new location. It was really annoying. But so
Where did
I
you
call
end
it
up-
the Satan Parade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where did you end up shooting instead?
So we were shooting outside a police office, and so we just went to a different one nearby.
Yeah.
It was great.
I think it
It
happened
was
a
closed,
few
so the
times.
police didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I think it happened a few times as well. It was like 2 occasions, I think. Like there's a Santa parade on when we were meant to be
I
filming.
think there was another situation where something was going on and it was really irritating, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
There was
And then-
actually a full-on funeral one time happening, but that was when
Wow.
we were location scouting, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay. Yeah.
But there was like all of these motorcyclists who looked like real gangsters, and I was like, "Ugh, what are we doing here?"
Yeah.
You just blended.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was the Viper Alleyway, which was the name of the gang that
Yeah.
we were shooting, so it was actually perfect. That was just where all the gang members are.
Yeah.
In reality.
You'd think Viper, alleyway would have like nicer kind of people in them.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on.
Nice
Moving on.
segue.
That was about, that was Apple.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on. There are different, like when you're looking at the credits for like films, you have different kinds of producers on. There's I don't know, like executive producers and line producers, yeah, and what other kinds of what other kinds are there, and what are their roles?
So it changes between film and TV, so we'll just talk about film
Yeah.
for now. But yeah, so the execs are like the ones who really are the money people. Like they're at the top. They might even be the ones who funded it. They'll be the investors.
Okay.
Or they might not be, but they found all the money, so they're called executives. But they won't have. They'll have a say in obviously the finished product, but they won't be involved in the day-to-day running of a film. That's not their job. Whereas the producer will be the one that's actually hands-on, or should be more hands-on, involved with the film. Creative producer is really all producers are creative to an extent, but they might choose not to be.
Yeah. Like, focus more on, like, the
Story,
behind the scenes.
the story and the behind the scenes
Yeah.
and the crew morale, that's more of a producer job.
Yeah.
And then a line producer is very much an organizational role. So if you were, say, going to shoot in Iran, you would get a line producer from Iran
Yeah.
who will organize just that shoot and all of the different logistics around that shoot. Or if you're going to, we'll say, Idaho,
Yeah.
then you would have one in Idaho who would organize just that shoot. So that's what line producers do.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah. And so looking at that, I feel like there's a lot of not really constraints, but kind of budget has always been budget is something that is very difficult to get in film, depending on like if you're an indie or working for a big production company. How is it that is it the producer's role to get the budgeting, and kind of how does that kind of break up part in the film? Is that part of the producer's?
Yes, producers do get funding and are involved with the money process. Yeah, they'll find the funding and then they'll be in charge of making sure that the budget works so they'll budget out the film first and then they'll find the money
Yeah.
for that. And then if they go over budget, it's up to them to find some more money.
Yeah.
You know, and then they'll be involved with like getting distributors on board who might also put funding in like in advance. It depends on the distributor.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll be very involved with that, and they'll find it through private equity, through studios, through crowdfunding. I don't know. Depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm. And have you got like have you been in charge with a lot of kind of that budgeting, grabbing more money in case of like a over budget kind of thing?
As in,
Have you had that problem before where the film has gone over budget and you were tasked of kind of?
Not personally, no.
Oh,
I stick to budgets pretty strictly.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
People looking for producers. So. Léah McVeagh.
I have only ever gone over budget once, and it was by like $20.
Oh, okay.
So, and I was working
Whoa.
for a big studio at the time, so they just absorbed
Oh yeah.
the cost. I mean, it's $20.
Yeah.
Whatever. But that was the only time. I've never gone over budget since then.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think over budgeting or going over budget, you think like hundreds
Like a
of
million,
thousands.
Yeah.
$1 million. It's like, no, 20.
15 reshoots after because
Bringing
you're over
everyone
budget.
back 5 years later
Yeah.
to do like another a reshoot. It's
Yeah. Honestly, I think producers who go so wildly over budget, it's either because something dreadful went wrong in the middle, or because they were just not very good at what they were doing. I don't know. It's it depends on the situation. Sometimes
Okay.
it's no fault of the producer at all. It's just
Maybe like the funding cut. The
yeah,
money
maybe the
stopped
funding
coming
cut,
in, or-
maybe they weren't communicated with, and somebody spent a lot of money on creating a set that they weren't supposed to. They went over budget and didn't communicate. That
Yeah.
also happens.
I've got another question.
Yeah.
Is there any opinion on like big name stars who are the executive producers of shows, and like, how like certain people like they might produce a show that they're in, whether it's a film or a TV series? is that them just getting money to fund it? Is that them like just wanting to be involved in the project? Thoughts?
So with big actors, if they are an executive, they either put money into it or they took a pay cut in order to make it. So like if you got DiCaprio as an executive producer and he's usually worth $20 million and he decided, well, I'm going to do this for $10 million so it will get made, therefore he becomes an executive.
Reasonable price, yeah.
Yeah, reasonable price of $10 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when they become executives. But they also might have found the money through somebody else, through a connection. But yeah, I have a problem. The only time I have a problem with that is when like they've just made a phone call, or something like that.
Oh, but still got the credit in.
Yeah, and then they still got the credit. So all they did, and they called a producer, is I made a phone call, which helped somebody.
But it was a really hard and important phone call, Leah.
It was really hard and important. I mean, I get it. Maybe
So
they
many
brought in
numbers in
another
it.
$1 million. I don't know, which was quite useful. But I have a problem with them being called the producer. I have no problems with the executive role,
Yeah.
but if they're called a producer, then I'm like, so I was called the producer, but I did 100 times more work than you did.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel very nice
Yeah.
to be in the same league. So I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So I think they need to be named properly. But the problem is they give out producer credits like it's candy sometimes in those bigger films, and it's really annoying. So yeah.
Well, going into the specifics of kind of pre-production, production, and post-production, what kind of roles and what kind of hats do you put on as a producer? Because I've only seen you often as a producer during production, where I see you sitting, and I know like that is really going well if you're just sitting there and waiting for stuff to happen. Like if you're jumping on and doing stuff, I know like there's something wrong, but you're chillaxing and knowing that everything runs smoothly.
Do you know, I remember working the first day on our Vagabond feature film, and Kira came up to me and she goes, "Are you sure you need to be here? Because it looks like you're just chilling on your phone." And I'm like, and meanwhile, that whole morning, I'd been looking for more crew because we had crew drop out.
Yeah.
I was making sure call sheets were done, that we had food for the next day. I was working really hard, but it looks like you're not doing anything because you're just sitting there on your phone or on your laptop, and it just looks like you're just having a great time, not doing anything. But actually, if a producer's really calmly sitting there doing something like that, then you know that things are under control. If a producer's running around like a chicken without a head, things are out of control and there's some big problem, and you need to be like, okay, what's going on here? Maybe we should find out.
Yeah.
So you have to, I think people don't appreciate that, because on sets, I know a lot of crew go, oh, you know what, I really hate it when the producer comes, because they just walk around and they just look at you, and they just make sure you're doing your work and stuff. But I'm like, actually, they're just making sure that you're okay and that you've got everything you need, and that's actually what they're doing. But they don't appreciate that because they don't see what goes on behind the scenes.
So were you? Did you school like Kira?
I did tell her
taken a school?
everything that I was doing, and I said I didn't want to tell you that or show that because it's not, you should be focusing on the creative.
Yeah.
She was like, whoa.
It's like, and she was like, what? You're not just checking Instagram and like
Oh yeah, I was
messaging your friends?
I was just, talking to my imaginary boyfriend. That's totally what I was doing.
Any tips for people wanting to become a producer?
I would say if you're looking into it, that you make sure that that you understand what you're getting yourself into first. Actually, school yourself and spend a lot of time on other people's sets, just being a runner or an assistant or something, just figuring out what everybody's role is. And just because as a producer you need to really respect all of the different roles on a film set. So I would say even if you're just an extra, that's also really important. It's just going to have that experience on a film set and figuring out what everybody does. Just keep looking for that experience like on any set that you can find, whether it's a student set or it's a TV show or it's an indie film, whatever it is. Just go and find that thing. And connections as well. Going to networking events can be sometimes helpful. Not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring up extras, because I found that like the hardest roles to fill are editors, producers, and extras. It's incredibly hard to find
People to
do all those
background.
three,
as well.
Yeah.
especially if you have no money like to make a short film and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I need 200 people.
Yeah.
How are we gonna get them?
Yeah.
First of all, you need a producer.
Yeah.
And then you can find the 200 people.
I want to kind of go back to that the post production. Speaking of editors, I want to go back to that post production. What kind of role does the producer have in the post production of a film or a music video or a short film?
So with the post-production, really the producer's in charge of making sure it actually happens. Because basically they've got to make sure that all of the footage is all backed up and that it's actually being sent to the editor and that the editor's doing their job, that they've set all of these deadlines for them.
Yeah.
It's connecting all of those creatives, and also in like post-production, which is like the distribution part, is to actually make sure it's getting into the right hands. With a music video here in New Zealand, it will go to New Zealand on air, so that you need to make sure all of the deliverables are there, and that you've got people marketing it as well. That might be your job. I mean, if you're a music video producer, you won't be in charge of marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But
in
for
short
like
film,
short films,
web
you
series
would
and all that.
Yeah, web series of the thing. So you would find all those people and make sure they're doing their job. Because I find, especially with short films, is that when you get to post-production, everyone kind of loses interest after a while, and you're the one who just keeps going, push, 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 come on, we got to get this finished, and they're like, I've had enough, I want to move on to my next big project, and it's like, no, finish.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to finish something. Like, it's not until you finished it and it's out there in the world, you can say, oh yeah, I've directed something, but then like if people want to see it, and you've moved on to your next project.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, that's because I never finished it. It's like, wow, that's amazing. So we don't even know what you're like as a director, because we've never seen it.
I know a guy who did like 9 short films in university, and he only ever released 2.
2?
Yeah, because he
Oh,
never finished editing the others.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
that's so
they-
frustrating. That
know.
frustrates me.
They need Léah to produce. They needed Léah for those shoots.
I'm that person that would just sit there going, just finish it. It doesn't matter how crap it is. Just finish it.
Yeah.
Because then at least it's done and you can move on. I feel like I can't let something go until it's finished.
Cool.
Just finish it.
Sweet. That's all the time we have for now. If you would like to be a part of this conversation or still don't have a grasp of what producer does, you can tag Léah into the questions. Feel free to talk about it in the comments section in our Facebook page. That's Angle 3 Pictures. Or if you'd like to know more about us and what we do, look us up at angle3.com. All right. Cut. That's a wrap.
Just finish it.